D&D has been a big part of my channel, and I've run it pretty consistently since 2014. But when it came to starting a new campaign with my friends, D&D was not on the list of possibilities this past year. I think it's a solid game, but these past couple of years I've just felt the pull in a different direction. I want to play some other games. Why is this, you ask? There are a couple of good reasons I'll share here. There's a lot I could say. First off, Wizards of the Coast, who's owned by Hasbro, is pretty dominant in the tabletop RPG space. They're a really big company. And I think competition is good. I want to support other companies, smaller games. And yes, some of Wizards' business practices have played a role here, but my inner hipster has always been attracted to games that are a little bit further off the beaten path. Secondly, I'm tired of the same thing. I like variety. And even though there was a new edition with some changes that were made, the 2024 books just didn't grab me. I appreciate they recognized that 5th edition was doing really well. It had been well received for about 10 years on the market, and they didn't want to make any major changes. That's probably smart, but to me, variety. I just need something new. There are so many interesting RPGs out there. I can't imagine sticking to one for so long. So when it came to starting a new campaign with my friends, I knew it wouldn't be D&D for me. Over the last few years, I've toyed with switching to several different systems, and I have run one-shots in a lot of them. Dungeon Crawl Classics was a pretty attractive option. For the record, I have played it, and I enjoyed it, and I hope to play more of it in the future, but this was not the winner. Fantasy Age from Green Ronin was another really cool one that I have some PDFs of, and I'm really attracted to the system. It seems like it's really neat. When I got Knave 2nd edition, it definitely got my attention because it's just a beautiful book, really well done, all around solid RPG toolkit. It's also an old school Renaissance product, so once you get into that, it opens up a whole world of classic adventures and supplements, and there's a lot of great stuff going on in the OSR scene. But this also wasn't it for me. There's one product over the last few years that just knocked my socks off, and really it's just one adventure in particular that really pulled me in. Some of you might know what I'm talking about here. It's Dragonbane, which is a recreation of an old Swedish RPG called Drakar och Demoner. Now, the rule set is cool. I like the rules, but really it's just the whole package here, and especially the adventure, the Secret of the Dragon Emperor campaign. But yeah, I think this is the single best RPG product I have ever purchased. And it's the only product that's pulled me away from D&D for a serious amount of time since 5th edition came out in 2014. This box set retails for $50, which by the way is the same price as the new D&D starter set I reviewed last month. And if you're looking for something new, I definitely recommend this over that. There's a reason I'm playing this and not that. I'll put a couple links to where you can buy this in the video description, and full disclosure, some of those are affiliate links. So for those, I do get a small commission at no extra cost to you. It's a great way to support the channel. So let's talk about what makes this box set so strong and what it's been like actually running Dragonbane at the table. Inside the box, you get a lot of stuff. First off, you get a full core rule book, not a slim basic rules or a starter version of the rules or quick start rules. This is the full rule book. It's 112 pages. It includes rules for character creation, but the set also does have 5 pre-generated characters, which are just beautiful. They come with art and backstory and all that. Really nice. Free League, the publisher, does sell a standalone rule book, but I recommend you get the box set instead because it's not that much more and you get a whole lot more stuff. In the box, you also get a whole bunch of cardboard 2D miniatures for characters and monsters. You get rules for solo play and a solo adventure called Alone in Deepfall Breach. I have people asking me sometimes, how do you play D&D solo? And yes, you can do it. There are tools out there to do it, but this one comes with a toolkit in the box for that purpose. There are tons of other little extras. You get a full set of polyhedral dice. You get a double-sided battle map. You get cards for treasure, adventure cards, initiative cards, and you get these improvised weapon cards, which I absolutely love these things. They make combat so much more interesting. You also get this large region map, which is absolutely beautiful. So well done. And it goes along perfectly with the campaign. This 116-page campaign book is the thing that kind of pulled me out of a GMing slump, to be honest with you. You can obviously run it as one big campaign, but it's also pretty cool that any of the adventure locations would make a great one-shot as well. The premise is simple. The party is searching for 4 pieces of a statuette of the Dragon Emperor. They actually find one of the pieces in the intro, so I guess they're looking for the other 3. This statuette is the key to getting the powerful magic sword Durman, forged by the Dragon Emperor some 700 years ago. The sword has the power to slay both dragons and demons, which were two sides that were historically locked in an epic struggle. The long ago defeated demon sorcerer Azrael Koth, who has been entrapped for centuries in a tomb on the Isle of Mist, has his minions seeking the sword because it will allow him to leave his prison at last. There are also a religious order of dragon knights and a clan of orcs who are seeking the sword. So the player characters find themselves in the mix with these three factions, all vying for possession of the sword for different reasons. Locations contain clues, rumors, and sometimes the pieces of the statuette themselves. And the GM actually has full freedom to decide where the actual pieces are found. There are 10 locations in addition to the intro and the kind of final location of the Isle of Mist. The 3 remaining pieces of the statuette could be found in the first 3 locations they explore, or they might not find the final piece until they explore the 10th location. The length of the campaign is very customizable in that way. Every location is fun, creative, and full of personality. There's a lot of variety here. There are colorful NPCs, and the adventures are not without the occasional silly moment, but there are some pretty grim moments too. After all, there is a demonic presence on the rise here in Misty Vale. I describe the overall tone as pretty pulpy. It can be dark and twisted at times, but always really fun and interesting. This is definitely my kind of fantasy. Nothing too far from the traditional fantasy RPG tone, but it has some nice twists. For most groups, I think each location will be about 1 session, maybe a little more, maybe sometimes 2 sessions. The campaign opens with PCs on the road, where they come across an injured traveler who actually dies, and then they're ambushed, which is a nice little trial by fire. They then make their way to the town of Outskirt, and there are several NPCs in Outskirt who can tell them about the legend of Umdurman, so they can get mixed up in all that drama with the rise of a demon cult and the strange mist that has settled on the Vale. One of the things I really appreciate about this sandbox-style campaign is that it does a great job of making the world feel dynamic and alive. Things happen. A lot of these tables in the book really help with that, like this table of demonic omens here on page 10. When they're out traveling, you can just roll for one of these and it drives home this idea that strange things are happening around here. Here on page 16, we get some random events in town. On page 28, we get this section on journeys, which is just random encounters based on whatever region the player characters are in. And there are random events inside each adventure site, which kind of just drive home this feeling that, hey, if you're just gonna hang around here, things are gonna be happening around you. And it might be dangerous for you. And then there are also consequences if you leave a site before clearing it. Some of them are specific to that site, like these ones right here for Rittermound. Others of them will direct you to page 107 in the rulebook. I really like these. It makes these locations feel alive, things change, enemies react, and yeah, it just makes sense that if you're gonna leave a location and come back, you're not gonna find things just as they were. In terms of the 10 locations, they can be approached in any order, and I as the GM have to decide which rumors I'd like to seed first. Usually I have 2 or 3 rumors floating around at any given time, each of them tied to one of those locations, and the players can choose from those 2 or 3. I really try to get my players to commit to one of the locations before the next session so that I only have to prep one. The online community has a lot of good advice, both the subreddit and their Discord server, on which locations might be best for a brand new party, because some of them are more challenging than others, but really any of them should be doable if the player characters exercise caution. Even though the rules of Dragonbane are fairly simple, combat is not going to take it easy on your player characters. It definitely borrows some modern conventions from D&D 5th edition. There are just minor little things in there, like for example, they have their own system that mimics advantage and disadvantage, but there's a lot of OSR roots here, and part of that is challenging combat. Enemies can absolutely kill you, and your hit points are never going to get very high. Going in without planning or strategy can easily result in death, and you got to be cautious and creative. The players are going to have to think strategically, work together, use terrain to their advantage. And knowing the combat rules can matter. Using parry and dodge, while it's easy to ignore that and just kind of move in and go use your attacks, if you forego an attack and instead save that for a possible parry or dodge, that could actually save your life. Survival in the wilderness is also a big part of this game. I actually do my best to have my players track their rations, which I never do in D&D, but in this game, it actually makes it valuable for player characters who have the ability to hunt, fish, or if they have a high bushcraft skill. These become fun elements of the game and make those players feel useful. It also makes some of the gear, like the field kitchen or a good tent, more useful. In fact, the large tent is one of the first things my players purchased after their first quest got them some gold. Now, I do want to warn you that there is something your players might not love, and that's the very minimal character progression in Dragonbane from a mechanical perspective. You're not gaining tons of abilities or suddenly gaining a few more hit points. Advancement is really slow and mostly just comes in the form of getting to improve a couple of skills at the end of each session by one. The process is laid out here in the rulebook on page 29. I'm not going to go through all of it, but you can feel free to pause the video and read through it if you'd like. And then after major milestones at the GM's discretion, players can earn a new heroic ability. They usually start with a couple of heroic abilities and then they can earn new ones on these major milestones. For me, I'm doing that every time the players find a new piece of the statuette. So they're not going to be getting a whole lot of these. The heroic abilities aren't too different from feats in D&D, and one of the heroic abilities basically just allows you to get 2 more hit points. So characters aren't going to become superheroes after a few sessions in Dragonbane, and danger always stays present. Advancement comes largely in the form of loot and gold as well, which is another thing that this kind of borrows from the OSR. You're spending your hard-earned gold on things that give you just a little more of a chance to survive. Having run a full D&D campaign, I can say that this feels a lot more grounded. The stuff my player characters are buying are a lot more practical. They're not buying gadgets and toys for their fantasy Batmobile. I know a lot of players might wish for a little more advancement here. I do think it's a fair critique of the system, but the fact that characters aren't getting super powerful makes the game more tense and exciting. It's refreshing. And I also appreciate that I don't have to spend too much time thinking about encounter balance. Everything's fairly hard. Be careful. Another thing I love about this adventure is that it's just a really nice medium-sized campaign. It can be kind of a mini campaign rather than the huge 300-page tomes we get from Wizards of the Coast, which, I ran the Icewind Dale campaign, and there are actually a lot of similarities between that and this in terms of the initial phase of that campaign being fairly open and sandboxy. But man, that one for me and my group was about 40 sessions, and I imagine this one's more like 10 or 20. I honestly wish that Wizards of the Coast would learn from this and release more smaller adventures and mini campaigns instead of just these huge ones. I definitely say you're going to get more stuff here than a Lost Mine of Phandelver or the new Borderlands module that comes in the new starter set. But more importantly than being bigger than that, it's just better. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of Lost Mine of Phandelver, but this is really good. Something else I really appreciate about this box set as a whole is that all the tools inside make it really quick to get to the table. Character creation is a lot simpler than in D&D, and the fact that it comes with minis and maps and cards also means less prep work and just easier to get it to the table. The adventure is also really well formatted, and I think it's just easier than most other adventure modules for a GM to run. There's a really clean bullet point formatting. There are short, clear NPC descriptions. You get this read aloud text in italics. All the needed monsters are included. You get nice maps for each of the locations. And by the way, they have printable versions online, which are super handy. I think more companies should do this. You can just print them each on a page and then tape them together. Super handy. I drew a lot of the maps on gaming paper myself, but for some of the locations, the maps were just so cool, I wanted to print them out. So yeah, it can be hard to tackle a new game, but all the stuff in this box just made it easy for me. Now the rules. I know I didn't give a very good rules overview here, but honestly, I want to focus mainly on the box set as a whole and this really great campaign, because those are the things that finally got me running something other than D&D. If you want an overview of the rules, however, you can check out my review of the box set from a couple of years ago. I'll put a link right up there. So hopefully I've explained pretty well why I've been running Dragonbane this year instead of D&D. It's a great product, and this box set is $50 very well spent. I've been having a great time with it, and I think my players have too. If you're looking for something new, I highly recommend you try it out. If you have any questions, leave those down in the comments, and I would of course love to hear your thoughts on anything I said here as well. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, everybody. You'll see me again very soon.